campaign. I'll start with you, Robbie. No surprise, Elizabeth Warren laying out a very progressive agenda. She's walking out onto the stage, as we showed, announcing her candidacy to Dolly Parton's 9 to 5. Was this rollout effective? Do you think she resonated?
Well, I certainly think that she's raising the issue that's at the core of many Democrats' concern right now, which is the deep corruption of this administration. And how right now, when you look at what the Republicans were doing when they were in office unchecked with, all three branches of the executive and legislative parts of government, they were passing massive tax breaks for billionaires and millionaires, huge tax breaks for corporations and pass-through entities. So I think that she's pegging her candidacy to the right issues. I think the struggle for any Democrat running right now in this big crowded field is how do you break out and how do you distinguish yourself? I think she's pushing a little bit harder on certain pieces of this than other candidates. We'll have to see if that's enough. But, I think her focus was right in the right spot today. That speech was all about the voters and their lives and what she's going to do for them.
And Emily, we're seeing Elizabeth Warren is wasting no time hitting the road. She's in New Hampshire. These are live pictures from her next event that she's at currently. Meantime, President Trump and his re-election campaign is already going after Warren today with this statement. Elizabeth Warren has already been exposed as a fraud by the Native Americans she impersonated and disrespected to advance her personal career, and the people of Massachusetts she deceived to get elected. The American people will reject her dishonest campaign and socialist ideas. Why do you think the Trump campaign feels the need to respond to Warren? Because we haven't seen this with the other Democrats who have jumped in so far, and she's one of 8 now.
Yeah, uplifting Warren is actually probably the best thing the Trump administration and Trump campaign could do to have her break out. Any attack on any candidate is kind of perceived as by the public as them being a threat to him. That's who he tends to go after. And the higher visibility that he can give her, the better it is for her, honestly. I would imagine the reason they're that he's thinking about tweeting or in the way that he goes after is because he is the one that ended up bringing up this Native American history, and it actually stuck in a way that it probably shouldn't have. So I imagine they feel like there's blood in the water and can keep going after her. Something I think is interesting about her campaign and the stunt that she's been on so far is that she actually is going after Trump directly, much more so than the other candidates. I think Robbie makes a good point in that her rollout speech today was much more about the people and the economic issues and the day-to-day issues, which is really where her strength lies. The more she talks about, she's really running like the nerd lane. So the more that she can talk about understanding people's day-to-day struggles and having that economist background is stronger for her.
The nerd lane. I like that. I'd like to think I'm in the nerd lane as well. She does have to answer these questions about claiming Native American heritage, like it or not, and she's continued to address this issue on multiple occasions. Let's listen.
I am sorry that I extended confusion about tribal citizenship and tribal sovereignty and for harm caused. I am also sorry for not being more mindful of this decades ago.
Emily, the latest polling numbers show she is facing a 32% favorable rating. It's not great, obviously. You can see her unfavorables are actually a little bit higher. Do you think she can get past this controversy, or will it continue to haunt her campaign?
I think it'll go on as long as we keep talking about it, honestly. Like, she is going to run a campaign that is going to talk about, it is going to be in the nerd lane. She gets very specific into details. She rose to power under the potential of the CFPB. Like, she really knows this stuff. And so the more that she can talk about it, the bigger platform that's given. It's not sound bites, it's not tweets, but the more we talk about that, the better off she'll do. It's interesting that she went back to New Hampshire today. She's actually been in New Hampshire through the entire last cycle and has more visibility there than really almost any other primary candidate. It's really Iowa, South Carolina, where she needs to make a little bit more inroads. So the fact that she's going back there, I guess, it shows where she's doubling down.
Robbie, let's talk about the ever-important young voter base. Remember this attempt on Instagram that unleashed a wave of mockery?
My husband Bruce is now in here. You want a beer?
No, I'll pass on the beer for now.
You sure? Okay, say hello to folks.
Yes.
So, this is my sweetie.
Hello.
He's the best. And I'm crazy for him.
So can Warren connect with younger voters, Robbie?
I absolutely think she can. I think she's raising a lot of really important issues that, younger voters care about. We think about student debt. She's really been a leader on that issue. We think about jobs and minimum wage for young people entering the workforce. I think so. Look, I think Warren's had it really tough. Emily's absolutely right. I mean, and I went through this on the Clinton campaign. People decide to harp on something, they won't give it up. Hillary got attacked for not being quote-unquote relatable on social media. I think what Democrats need to do is take a deep breath, step back, really listen to what these candidates have to say, really think about what's in it for them, and give her a chance. And I think, people are on different sides of what Warren believes. Some people think she's pushing the envelope too much. I'm sure there's some people who don't think enough. But I think as Democrats, we want to have a better primary that's not about drama, that's not about intrigue. That's what the Republicans got caught up in 2016. I think that's how they got Donald Trump as a nominee. So I'd like to think that, we're not going to be, judgy about social media. We're going to judge people on the merits.
Emily, I'm finding it a fun time to be an anchor on the weekends because so many of these events are happening during my hours. And tomorrow we expect to hear Senator Amy Klobuchar announce her 2020 plans. When you look at who is officially announced so far, at least, it's quite a diverse field. What effect will that have on Democrats' chances of taking back the White House?
I think very strong. Look, it's an exciting time to be a Democrat. There's great candidates out there. As a party, as a country, we should be so lucky for any one of these people to be our nominee. I think for everyone who has, which is everybody, who lived through the 2016 primary, does not want to relive that and does not want to get so hard into camps that you actually don't feel ready to go into the general. So look, people are choosing their candidates, people are picking their camps, but really the thing they're looking for most is who can beat Donald Trump in the general election, and who people are preferring who they think has electability over their own personal choice even. So the fact that there's going to be a big primary, an exciting one that people will be able to put forth different but not wildly different visions for the country, I actually think is good in getting the entire base to move forward with one candidate once we get to the general.
Robbie, you know Senator Bernie Sanders' message and strategy better than a lot, I imagine, after campaigning against him in the 2016 primary. Where do you think his mindset is right now when it comes to 2020? He obviously has not made any announcements yet about whether he's going to run.
Yeah, I think Bernie comes in with strengths and some challenges, right? I think the obvious strength is he has universal name recognition, has a big list of supporters, a big political network that he built over the last cycle. I think the challenge for him is going to be that he was in a two-person race, as Emily was just talking about. And in many respects, his candidacy was defined in contrast to Hillary Clinton. So the real question to me is, who is Bernie Sanders now, and how does he distinguish himself in this field? He can't just be anti-Hillary. He can't just be anti-establishment broadly, because you could make that argument about a number of these candidates. He needs to be something a little bit different this time. And, I think we saw in some of his comments, he's getting pushed harder to be more responsive on issues like, structural racism in this country, implicit racism. And so I think some of the challenges that maybe were masked or easier to navigate last time are going to be tougher. That doesn't mean he can't be successful. But if I were with his team, those are the things I'd be really thinking about really closely.
All right, Robbie Mook, Emily Tisch Sussman. You see the polling right there and where people's heads are at right now on the Democratic side. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
It is the blog post that triggered a federal investigation. The world's richest man says he was blackmailed by the National Enquirer, and now a possible connection to a close U.S. ally.
Dear great-great-grandfather,